Hello everyone and welcome to this special video, considering this is the first time I've probably uploaded in 2 to 3 weeks, and second of all, it's going to be my first hardware review of something. Now, back in January, my Samsung S10 decided to really slow down, and it was driving me nuts, so I tried a second-hand S22 Ultra, and then I went for another one because they kept giving me ones which weren't to the quality they said they would be. And then I gave up with that. And then I found the reviews for the brand new Red Magic 9 Pro. And I thought, you know what, I'll try it. And now I'm 6 months in. These are my reviews. So, now why did I choose this? Will this Chinese brand manage to wow me away from the flagship of large manufacturers? Yes. Yes, they have. Section 1. First impressions. When unboxing the phone, I was blown away by the presentation, especially considering this is the first phone I've bought in years, and after hearing the stories of reducing things that came with phones, I was pleasantly surprised by the fact it came with an actual charger. Yeah, I know, a low bar to pass, but they passed it, unlike Samsung, Apple and many others. It was a nice piece of art and of their mascot inside of the case. And then there was also a free flimsy and mostly useless phone case. Please note, do not buy the official one because I have now replaced it with a different one from a third-party vendor. So much better because it actually protects your screen. I've gone through four screen protectors. So there's a solid piece of advice. And a built-in screen protector, though only a film one. And again, I've replaced this with a glass one from Red Magic first and then from third parties on Amazon. Highly recommend it. The phone itself feels extremely premium, more so than my S10, which at the time retailed for the same price as the 9 Pro. With its all-metal body, which is cold to the touch 99% at the time, it is pleasant to hold. As for myself, it does only get slightly warm when I charge it or film in 8K. Yes, that's a feature. It can film in 8K 30 or 4K 60. Woohoo! Brilliant if you're a media student. It has front and back glass, both extremely premium feeling, but both very fingerprint sensitive. So if you do put a case on it, wipe it down before you put the case on, or all you're going to see is just fingerprints, or use gloves when you're handling it. I don't know, I don't care. Do what you want with your phones, people. Don't let anyone tell you what to do with your life. While it might be advertised as flat, it does have a very small bump on the flash mount, which is the equivalent thickness of a fingernail. So as long as you use the case, it is completely flat, and it practically is flat anyway. But be a bit nitpicky if you want to be. But it's still fantastic that you can get a flat phone in 2024 rather than having a huge camera notch. And I much appreciate it because I like fitting my phone in pockets. Looking at you, Samsung. The device boots up quickly and is easy to set up using a standard Android install with a Red Magic skin on top of, leading to it being fairly easy to use and get used to as an Android user, especially when moving away from Samsung's OS. And I'm sure if you've used any other Chinese phones or other Android manufacturers which use more basic Android skins, it should be extremely easy to move over. However, it does come with some software bugs, and I will come to those later. The screen is roughly Retina quality, however it can be noticed when using it the pixels that make up the display, but that is only when you're looking quite close or if you're changing between colours, because the OLED display on this thing does seem to have some issues with colour accuracy and morphing between different colour zones. So as such, if you're really finicky about colour, might be one to avoid. However, if you're not as fussy where you need everything to be perfectly colour accurate, you should be fine. And it does burn in quickly if you leave the clock and your notification bar on. So I personally have turned off all my notification icons and my clock icons so it doesn't burn in, leading to longer screen duration. And I recommend trying to do an OLED wipe of your phone screen every so often, because you'll get more longevity out of it, because once an OLED burns in, it's done. You can't unburn in an OLED. Display does struggle when it comes to response times, as in the response time to changing colours, because I did notice when using my banking app, I can watch the pictures change the shade of colour, and its HDR support is rather lackluster. However, it does work, which is better than my S10, because my S10 didn't support HDR. And you can watch HDR content on YouTube and you can see it actually working. But if you take HDR video with the phone's camera, it does look quite washed out and not colour graded. So if you're wanting to record in HDR, I would avoid this phone unless you know how to do proper colour grading. But if you do know how to do colour grading, perfect. Perfectly fine for you. Especially if you're a media student. This is going to be a main point from me, by the way, because I am one. Did I mention it also has a headphone jack? Yeah, it does. Thank God, because you don't see many of those these days. It also has an IR blaster. Yeah, and it works, because I've managed to turn off TVs, projectors, all of it. And it's really useful if you can't be bothered standing up and grabbing the TV remote the other side of the room from you. So yeah, there's another plus for you. If you've got devices which use IR, perfect. Personally, I don't. I use 2 monitors and a PC, but when I go and watch TV and watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds downstairs, it's quite useful, because then I can just be like, boop, that's on. Right, Fire TV remote's on my phone as well. Sorted. It also has a micro SD card slot, though I haven't used it because I've got 512GB of internal storage, so it's a bit redundant. But it's always nice to have, because let's say you're doing recording video, like HDR 8K, and you're wanting to take it straight over to your computer, just put my micro SD card in, record, make it sure it saves to that slot, and then put it in your PC once you're done. Boom. It also has dual SIMs, so if you're using, let's say, a pay-as-you-go SIM card while you're in Europe or something, you can still keep your main SIM in there and just make sure you've got it set properly so you don't get roaming charges. I don't travel, so it's not an issue for me, but might be something good for some others to use. Now we move on to the technical information. For the record, this is for the 9 Pro 512GB model. Personally, I've got mine in the black because it looks nice. However, the Snowfall version does look quite nice as well. And the Sleet version, considering it's cheaper, looks like a fairly good deal for people who want the same quality, just for a bit cheaper. However, I don't have it, so I will not make any statements on its quality, because I don't want to say something and then someone get torn out by it and get misled, because that's the last thing I want to do. It uses the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 with its 8 cores clocked to at 3.3 to 3.2 GHz, which is the same as the S24 Ultras, and the Arduino 750, again the same as the S24. It has 16 gigs of RAM. I believe it's LPDDR6, which is the latest standard for phones at least. And it's also got the latest standard for storage. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me off the top of my head because I haven't put it in the script, but AR. If you're really that fussed, I highly recommend just reading technical information from Linus Tech Tips videos, or I think Hardware. No, I don't think Hardware Unboxed did a video. I know a couple of YouTubers did videos for this back when it came out, and now subsequently the 9S as well, which I will mention in a bit, because this review's taken me 3 months to write. Go college. It has a display of 6.8 inches with no bezels. It looks really nice as well, with an 1116 by 2480 pixel screen. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did. Everyone's going to enjoy picking apart all my punctuation mistakes in this. Oh well. With plenty of density of 400 ppi, pixels per inch, with refresh rates between 60 and 120 and HDR10 support. It has a 6,500 mAh battery, and I will be honest, this thing can last me 2 days of constant use without charging. And now I've had it, well, when I wrote the script, I had it for 4 months. It had 51 charging cycles. Let's check right now how many charging cycles I've gone through. I am now on month 6, and I am at 90. And I charged this phone last night, and my battery is still at 79%. I did know I had it before when I first got the phone during winter at work. It would last me the entire day without dropping by much percentage at all. I think at one point I even only lost 10% while using it to Bluetooth my music in the kitchen. So, fantastic, especially coming from an S10 which would need to be charged 4 to 5 times a day because of how old it was. Still a good phone if you don't mind just carrying a battery bank around with you, but there you go. Did I also mention it's got some physical gimmicks too? With touch-sensitive triggers and a physical toggle for the game mode. I've never used it because I don't use this as a gaming phone. I just use it as a phone. And with some things like SMS messaging, it does have some issues where, for example, if I message my granddad, it sends it to him 3 times, probably because he's using a Nokia 210 without modern texting standards, so it's relying on the old stuff, and for some reason it sends it 3 times. Don't know why, tried to fix it, did nothing. And it also does have some more finicky issues with software, but again, I'll come to that in the final section of the video. It also has a fan, which helps cool the phone while it's charging and while you're gaming. And I will say, it is quite useful. And when you're trying to sleep, it's quite like a white noise machine because of how high the RPM is. So if you've got issues with sleeping because of lack of noise, perfect, you don't need to buy a white noise machine now. Section 3. Final closing thoughts after 6 months and the release of the 9S, the successor to this phone. So as a whole, I really do enjoy using this phone. And while it does have some issues with colour accuracy in some environments and has some software issues such as not being able to use Google Pay and some OS hanging issues, I would still recommend this phone for someone who's technically minded, doesn't mind taking a leap of faith from the core phone companies, because it is an incredible value for a phone. The same power as an S24 Ultra, yes, without the same cameras or the same software support, but you're spending half the price. To me, that's an incredible deal. And if you know what you're doing, and if you know how to unlock bootloaders and everything else, you should be able to make this phone last you years. Even, I'm going to try and use this phone for as long as I can, because it's not cheap. It's about the price of a new bike. Actually, no, it is exactly the price of a new bike. Yeah, because that's going to be another video in the future. So, any other things I want to say about this before I stop recording? It is a bit of a concern that it is a Chinese phone. Of course, you've got all the Chinese spy scandals. And as long as you're not working for the Department of Defense or the Ministry of Defense, you should be fine. Besides, if the Chinese wanted to put off with me by now, they would have blown this thing up, because if you've watched this channel for long enough, you know my stance on Taiwan and Ukraine. Dictatorships, they're fantastic. No, they're not. They're horrid. Anyone who supports either of them should go out to the countries and see how it is. So, will I keep this phone? Yes, I will. Would I recommend my friends to get this phone? Yes, I would. If they are able to deal with some of the issues you have, yeah, go for it. It's got an 85-watt fast charger included in the box. What more could you want? And it looks quite good as well. And you have other things that are good with it. The slow-mo on this is fantastic. The camera quality on this in Pro mode is fantastic because you do all the tweaking yourself. And I used it for my BTEC recording and photography units, and I ended up with distinctions overall during the year. So take of that what you will. You can use it for professional purposes, or you could just use it for gaming. I don't use it as a gaming phone. I just run emulators on my computer because it's a much easier thing to do. And I've got a Core i9-12900KF now, so might as well. But in all seriousness, you're looking for a new phone, I recommend it if you can spend $799. If you want something that's more gonna last you longer, I would avoid it, because of course this is my first generation product with Red Magic, and reading the reviews before their software support, isn't fantastic, as they've dropped support for phones before just completely out of the blue. So take of that what you will. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that will be the end of today's video. If you have any questions about the Red Magic 9 Pro or future content on this channel, please leave them in the description below. Please give me a like and subscribe if you can. The next review will be on the Intel Arc A770 Sparkle, because goddamn, it is a beautiful graphics card, but doesn't perform as well as it looks. And I will probably also mention my entire build in that video, and I don't know, I might do some benchmark testing. But yeah, thank you for watching, and cheerio.